Hello everyone, this is Alan Samuel Ofula, a math physics teacher, and today I'm going to be taking you through mathematics, and the theme of today is complex numbers, and that is A level, so please come with me. If we are told that given that z over z minus 4 is purely real or purely imaginary. For this case, let's say it is purely imaginary, because they can either say it's purely real or purely imaginary. Now let's take it if they say it is purely imaginary, and they say find the locus of this complex number. What do you expect you to get the answer, or how do you expect it to be brought out? So here what we shall say, let our z equals x plus iy, x being a real part, y being the imaginary part. So after we have done so, we are going to go back and substitute in this formula, and then this will become x plus iy over x plus iy, then minus 4. So we are substituting in where there is z, we are putting in x plus iy. Then after we have done this, here in the denominator, we are going to collect, or we are going to pull together the real parts and then the imaginary parts. So this will give us x plus iy over x minus 4 plus I of y. Then we realize that we have an imaginary part in the denominator, so we are to realize this equation. Thereafter, we shall say it is x plus iy into x minus 4 minus I of y, everything over x minus 4 plus I of y into x minus 4 minus I of y. So here we are trying to get the conjugate of this denominator, and the conjugate of this denominator is the minus, since this is the positive. So we multiply it down and we also multiply it up. Then from there we just try to open these brackets, and when we try to open the brackets, we realize that this x will multiply the whole of this, and this becomes x into x minus 4 minus I. That is this x multiplying this. Then the same will happen plus I of y into x minus 4, then minus I of y, over, when you try to look at the denominator, this is the difference of two squares. But in complex numbers, this is how it will be, to become x minus 4 squared plus y squared. So this is what we are trying to get. Then when we try to open up the numerator, we realize that x times x, we shall get x squared. X times negative 4 shall get minus 4x. Then x times this, we shall get minus x, y of I. So we now finish this, we go to this bracket. Iy times x, we shall get plus xyi. Then multiply this, we shall get minus 4yi. Then if we multiply this and this, we're supposed to get a negative. But I times I is I square, and I square in complex numbers, it is a negative 1. So thereafter, we shall get plus y square over x minus 4 square, then plus y square. So this is what we have got after expanding this. But you realize that this term and that term will disorganize and disappear. So here we shall start by rearranging, and that becomes x square plus y square minus 4x, then minus 4y of I over x minus 4, that is square, then plus y square. So this is what we have got after simplifying the whole of this. We have got this. Then here we can see that the real part is seen, the imaginary part is seen. So we are going to separate it to be in the form of x plus iy, whereby the real part is distinct and also the imaginary part is distinct. So here we shall say it is x square plus y square minus 4x, put this in brackets, over x minus 4 square plus y square. Then plus, now the imaginary part, which is negative 4y of I over x minus 4 square plus y square. So we can clearly see that this is the real part, this is the real part, this is the imaginary part. But remember, the question is saying, if this is purely imaginary, what would be our locus? So if we say that it is a purely imaginary, it means the real part is equated to 0. That is the common sense that comes in. Because most cases when students reach at that level, they ask themselves, what must I know? Because we know very well that if this is our z equals x plus iy, then if it is purely what? Imaginary, then that means that the real part is 0. For example, it would have been z is equal to I, meaning that the real part is 0. The real part is 0. We don't have the real part. So if we reach at this level and I've said it is purely imaginary, so I go to the real part and I equate it to 0 because I don't need to have it. So therefore, I will say it is x squared plus y squared minus 4x over x minus 4 square plus y square. I equate this to 0 because they have told me it is purely imaginary. So if it is purely imaginary, the real part must be equated to 0. If they had said it is purely real, then I would go to the imaginary part, I equate it to 0. As I've showed you that if this had been purely imaginary, then z would be equals I. And if it is purely real, then it will be equals z equals let's say 1, meaning that the imaginary part is not there. So since they have said it is purely imaginary, the real part is equated to 0. And if you try to see them mathematically, you will see that when you cross multiply, we shall end up having x squared plus y squared minus 4x equal to a 0. So we realize that this is what we are getting. And when you try to observe, this is purely a circle. So our locus here is a circle. And mostly they can ask you, sometimes you may say, show that if this is purely imaginary, then it forms a circle. Hence, find the center and the radius. So if we have reached here, to find the center and the radius of this circle, we are just going to compare it by saying this is like x squared plus y squared minus 4x equal to a 0. So for me to show that, to get the center and the radius, I have two options. One, I can complete squares. Two, I can compare with the general equation. So if I now just go on to complete squares, we shall say that this is x minus 2 square plus y minus 0 square equal to negative 2 square plus 0 square. So this gives you x minus 2 square plus y minus 0 square equal to 4. Therefore, comparing it with x minus a, everything square, plus y minus b, everything square, equal to r square, we realize that our center here would be called AB, and our radius is equals to the square root of 4. So therefore, our center becomes 2, 0, and the radius becomes 2 units. So for this case, once they have said that it is purely imaginary, then it has formed a locus which is a circle with its center to 0 and its radius as 2 units. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to Tower Academic for more videos and more learning.